Kashmir is a very extremely beautiful place. And when I was young, I never realized that. I took Kashmir as a for granted place, my home, my childhood place. There is an incredible lake, Wular Lake. Wular Lake is the largest lake in, used to be a largest lake in Asia. But what happened is a lot of people got things out of it and started abusing it, made it dirty. And so what happened now, it has taken a landfall. There is no lake, you can't go in a boat there. It would take you to cross the lake, it was taking that time all 24 hours. It was so big. Now they don't even have boats there and you can't go because it has taken over by landfall and all that, those things. And I haven't seen it for a long time, but that's what I heard. So they are trying to get it back and all that. I don't know whether they will or not.
The boats with flowers and names and colors, everything was just vibrant and wonderful. I do remember when we first got there how nice the lake looked, how high it was. But I do also remember, as you know, as the years would go by and each visit, the lake seemed to be a little lower each time. There were more weeds. There were a lot of weeds, and I remember the boat people being not able to take us to certain parts of the lake. As we would take these different rides, they wouldn't be able to take us to these other parts of the lake because they would tell us that they couldn't get through the weeds, that the weeds were actually choking the lake. Then later on, when I was grown, I went back by myself and went to the Wular Lake and some of the other lakes. And I remember a lot of the boat people telling me that the houseboats used to be able to go through those channels, but they couldn't do it anymore. It was just overrun with weeds. The soil was eroded. The lake had been in disarray. And that the Department of Tourism was having a hard time.
Kashmir is fundamentally a valley, and it's just the Valley of Kashmir, which is kind of the most, has the highest concentration of Kashmiris, is this one valley within the state of Kashmir. And that valley is characterized by its lakes, specifically Dal Lake and Wular Lake. And these lakes are a part of the ecosystem, a part of the way of life for the people who live there. And for those people, more so than religion or ethnicity, these bodies of water, these landmarks, these geographic landmarks connect them to their identity and connect them to their way of life and well-being. So, whether it's political militancy in Kashmir, or it's sectarian conflict and communal violence, all of these things affect the lakes, and as such affect people's ways of making a living.
बेसोज़ी दिल बनी क्या सोज़ की तरान वाले बेसोज़ी दिल बनी क्या सोज़ की तरान वाले लोलन मखोल मुकर लोल के बहान वाले लोलन मखोल मुकर लोल के बहान वाले.
Oh God, that place is so beautiful. I feel like crying. I have been out from there so long, totally, so long. And I went about 2.5 years ago. I went to Kashmir for 5 days after 27 years. And beauty is there. It has been maintained very well. But there is a threat of terrorism everywhere.
Kashmir is a really good inflection point for thinking about partition, because its geographic location, the kind of militancy and political turmoil that was happening directly preceding partition. And so in 1947, when partition happened, or when India was granted independence, and then subsequently all this partition violence surrounding the division of India into India and East and West Pakistan, looking at Kashmir shows you a lot of the ways that people's migration and land disputes and attempts to draw political boundaries reaped havoc on the environment. So you look at, for example, there's a lot of migratory Muslim communities and in a lot of nomadic ethnic communities in Kashmir. And if you analyze kind of the sectarian tension and communal violence that push these people out of their usual geographic ecosystem, you'll see that a lot of the methods and strategies that different communities used to creating tension with each other had negative environmental effects, whether it was overgrazing land or the way that land tenure was granted to different communities, and the way that those communities chose to use their land was really disrupted by partition and created environmental degradation that exists today.
Environment around, like there is a scare. There's a scare there. You can see the scare in people's, faces. You can see because the militants have done a lot of harm there to the people. So environment has changed in that sense, because a lot of homes were burned, a lot of things had happened to that place, and a lot of women were hurt and all that. Mati morosh, hame morosh.